You're listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right. Beautiful weather today. Beautiful weather right now. However, I want to try something here. I'm going to turn that back on. It's a low or high pass filter. The volume's kind of strange. Had to fill in with a different battery. I left my one battery plugged in. So it went down to zero. Cursing me pretty hard today. Again, it could be because I'm helping her. I'm not sure. There's a lot of people that called in to see something, say something, and the cops put a hit out on them for some sort of criminal enterprise, and then they, under the color of law, stalk people into homelessness and worse. So I was hoping to get her home, and that didn't happen, so that's going to be a little bit of a problem. I don't even know if I got her to the other state I was sending her to. She hasn't gotten back to me. I said, are you getting on? Like 10 minutes before, I said, are you getting on the bus? She said, no, and never got back to me. So I don't know if she's, made it on the bus or what. So again, we do rate these systems. And she is homeless and disabled, and their system was not up to snuff. They're claiming, oh, it was the location's only itinerary. It's really a curse. So there's obviously direct cursing because it's almost impossible that this setup was set up. Nowhere else in the world probably are these two, and maybe they are, but what they did is on a map, the two bus places they look like you're in the right place because they're so close together. But she did go to the bus and she said, look, here's my ticket. He goes, well, you're not on our itinerary. You have to call customer service. And then finally, like 10 minutes later, they go, oh, your bus stops down the street. You're on a different bus. So it was too late at that point. And they had zero refund. They're making a lot of money for nothing because I guarantee they sold that seat. As soon as she didn't get on that bus, then the follow-up buses, I guarantee they sell her seat. And maybe even oversold that. There's no guarantee that her seat was available. So again, the rich gouging the poor. And in this case, a disabled homeless person who's being directly cursed by people in government that work for the rich and the criminal rich at that. And then, of course, we have the silly cons and all them that can track us on Facebook and laugh at our poor lives. Now, they'll tell you we're big criminals, and that's why they do it. But here's the kicker. Because that happened, and that happens because of people that Trump supports, whether it be metaphysical or physical, whether it be financial or covered over their crimes over the years while I was in government, whatever it was. And I don't know if Trump was actually indicted today or not. It said he was, but we don't know if he actually was. But if he was, that's how it works. You see when it was released? Right after. Because what has to happen is it has to be ready to launch when the offense would come. So those people that are those criminal deep state, as they want to call them, but Trump's actually part of that deep state, but he's a different cell. It's like a gangland takeover, but the little people are always, just like in every community that has those shitty criminals that they allow to operate, they're destroying the people in those communities, the everyday person, with narcotics, with sex trafficking, whatever it is. So it had to be ready. So, well, more that started months ago. And even, in fact, it actually started when Trump was in the White House and he had to leave with those documents. So that's how it works. So part of the power in indicting Trump was that his cronies and his deep state cells were out attacking people today. And of course, well, Maury got indicted again. It would have been nice to get her back home, but it'll have to do. I got her to the nearest Democratic Party state that I could afford, but not afford. Again, when I say afford, that means I go into debt for it. It doesn't mean that, I had a few $100s I could throw out the window. And they go, they want to laugh into the air because there was Satan. But the reality is, to get her out of Atlanta, we had to pay $310, or maybe even a little more. No, we paid like $320, something like that, for a $60 ticket because of their curses. So again, I chalk it up as charity. And again, I don't do charity like I used to. I used to always just hand out money. I drive down the street, see somebody, $20. See somebody else, $20. I just throw 20s out at them till it's gone. It's usually, like if I move, I grab a few $100s, and I just keep it. I don't spend cash because I get reward points. So I just keep the cash in my wallet, and I see somebody, I get $20, $20, and I haven't been doing that. So again, it went to one person, and that's what I told her before. I said, I could be, this money I'm giving you, I could give to other people that aren't going to squander it. And I understand, I tell her, I understand your issues, but we have to do something about it. And that's where I am with her again. When she gets to the next city, I'm going to tell her, I'm going to we need to make some phone calls together and see if we can fix this thing up and make it work. I mean, I think it would have worked if she would have got home, and they don't want her to go home. They want her to be out there with no friends. They laugh about that. So again, out here in Lenexa and Kansas City, there are law enforcement officers that are actually cursing homeless people and laughing when something bad happens to their life. And it's not only here. It's not only in Santa Fe. It's not only in Oklahoma City. It's everywhere. And what they're doing is they're saying, if you're not like that, then you're a thug hugger. Kind of embarrass a cop into bullying homeless people. And again, you'll see on the news, they'll pull up, look, here's a cop helping a homeless person. Yeah, that does exist. Now, again, I told you, I was in law enforcement. I helped a lot of people. But again, if you're going to allow it in certain cases, then, and it's more today. Again, if you don't allow it metaphysically, then it goes away. So again, the power people are allowing it, which means they're probably part of something like that. So this is our problems. It isn't bail reform, but bail reform is part of it. Again, you have to metaphysically forget. It's like saying, the gay people, and what are you going to do? We'll kill them. Why don't you heal them first? Again, you have to remember Jesus arrived on the scene. And even in the absence of Jesus, we have Ezekiel 34. Now, if I heal you, and I say, I don't want you to be gay, I want you to be straight, healed. It's a painless process. If you can't be healed, I'm not going to be angry at you because I healed you and I couldn't fix I couldn't make you walk. Again, Paul told us these things would fail. the healing. Now, a lot of it is people don't have the heart to heal. They don't really care. But they're like, to me, for today, all this work I did, I mean, it took a toll on me. As soon as I started helping her, I cut my finger, and because their curses are mounting up. Now, they may be watching us directly, and they may have called in other devils. That's the funny part. When you go to that Vatican exorcist in the 20th century or something like that, or the 21st, or whatever it said, the video I post, the priest speaks about the demons calling other demons. And that's what the demonic law enforcement officers are doing. They'll call other officers with the hope that they'll curse the same people, and it'll take. So that's why they put everybody in. You may, some people may be like, I don't know why this person's telling me this, or I don't want to be part of that. But you'll get people that'll be devils. And when the officer puts the other officers in, they're going to curse that person together. Now, they'll say they're the worst of the worst. But like I told you, I was in places where, they were saying, oh, they're all pedophiles or potential pedophiles, whatever. And it always shifts, too. Well, that person raped a child. That person raped their own children. And as each thing is dispelled, and pushed away, they come up with something else. And what they know is if they can stay in the person's life long enough, they can cause disabilities, psychological and physical disabilities that might cause the life to appear a certain way. Now, she was bullied in Santa Fe, out of Santa Fe. Now, she should have never probably worked for Uber because financially it doesn't work. Her benefits would not take care of her. And again, she needs to be in a program where they maintain her residence for her. Because to her, she doesn't need it. But she knows it's like an alcoholic almost. I don't know, the full ins and outs of it, but there was a lot of abuse. And and then she became abusive in life. So I'm like, I got to deal with that. But again, it's charity, and, I do it for the sake of doing it. I mean, if I was probably connected with somebody in here that needed a couple $100 before she came along, it may have went to them. If they proved to me they weren't going to use it for heroin or something like that. Like if they said, oh, I need another week in here, I might go to the front and pay for the week. That's real. If I give it to the church, then it involves a whole different mechanism other than the charity that Paul described. They're professional charity people. They're the non-profits. That means they're not prophetic. So I want to congratulate Kansas today in their VIN inspection station. Very pleasant woman. I don't know if they're all that pleasant. They all look they were in prison, but I did have a problem with it. It's all women. It's kind of sexist. Oh, maybe it's safer that way. I don't know. You having trouble with women and men working together? I don't know. Maybe they say, well, we'll put the women over there. Stay away. That was the only thing that struck me. I said, when I go to these things, usually it's there's women and men. Now in Santa Fe in New Mexico, they have a private entity do the VIN inspection. But I'll tell you what, like if you're a crook and you go in there and do the, at least up in, was it Merriam or something? If you do I think it's considered Kansas City, but it's just like north of Merriam or something. Actually, no, I think it might be further, a little bit further. But you go in there and you're a crook, you're gonna break. It's a high pressure environment there. I was being cursed, actually. It had nothing to do with the women that worked there. I was cursing them off. They were cursing me to be paranoid or something. They did it earlier too about the charity. So I'm on here gloating about having it be just charity. I mean, that's the point, to get her out of, and I explained to you before how that works, it's metaphysical, to get her, and some people know how that works, but they're rich and they don't care. To get her a $60 distance. We could have got there for $40 because we used the other bus, but I didn't want to have to make her come out of that, the main terminal. And I sure hope she made the bus because I still don't know. So again, she's disabled, and they're in her head, so it's even worse. So this is really what's going on, and you know there was actually foreshadowing, and I spoke about the Down syndrome kid in the he committed murder, I guess, so it's kind of heinous, but there's a foreshadowing of psychologically disabled people being treated harshly. Again, don't forget under Trump what he said about disabled people and all the other Republicans. I'm laughing at Meadows because he was one of them. But that what's that one guy? Toilet Paper USA. Kirk, yeah, Kirk, thank you. Charlie Kirk, he was laughing about it. And, you know, you're disabled, you know, if you can walk, then you're not really disabled, you're all lazy, you know, and these are like veterans and stuff, you know, that they're making fun of. I mean, they've never been in the military, most of them. You know, that should be telling about Trump, how he claims this superior military service. It's there. I mean, face it. And who is he? What kind of military people does he attract? The corrupt ones. Now, I don't think Democrats are much better, but, you know, there is a limit, and Trump doesn't know that limit. That was so funny, that one video I posted. Like, bro didn't have a chance. It's coming for him. Now, Fannie's case is really difficult. I don't know what's going on with it, of course, but she has to consult with the U.S. attorney because it's probably a federal case if it's what I think it is. I mean, you can charge it in the state, but she's probably has enough evidence for a federal case based upon what we see happening. You know, as far as, you know, who's speaking and who made statements and who has immunity in the federal case and that case. Like in reality, based upon what we see, Giuliani has very little to worry about when it comes to that lawsuit because, you know, being ratio-wise, because a federal case will kill it. And a state case could also. So again, part of what they're doing is, what's that word I'm looking for? Eugenics. And it's done in a very crafty, spycraft way. So, you know, I know you're not cursing the Russians off. I know you're not cursing criminals off, or the majority of them. I know that for a fact. They're living great lives. So again, when we see who your victims are, again, you'll lie about the victims for about 5 to 10 years and then say they deserve 5 to 10 years. But usually when you get to the end of somebody's life that they do that to, they've never been in prison, but yet all the other people they never did it to ended up in prison, ended up committing these heinous crimes that they use to say, oh, that person over there is the same way. Now, leaking, there are a lot of leak cases in the government. They're going after that guy for whatever reason. But again, if you're now saying, hey, we've given you enough time, we've shown you we're going to start, you know, taking security clearances, doing this type of thing on leaks, and now we're going to criminally charge an agent that's criminally leaking. And that's, you know, I don't know if they're going to do that. But again, the idea is once you change something, you don't play a game with it. Because what they'll do is, oh, we want to get that guy, so we're going to change it and just get that guy over there or that gal over there. But when you're serious about changing the pattern of behavior within an organization and knowing in the past it was kind of winked at and allowed to go, you do it incrementally. So again, if it's that, it's fine. If not, because I mean, there's plenty of people that leaked over the years. But the big problem is once you see that and Veritas is related to foreign nations, then you have a really big problem as far as a need for an investigation. But you're not Americans, all of you. You're globalists, and that's fine if you want to be globalists. But don't walk around that you're the patriotic Americans. You work for Saudi money. You work for Arabic money, and that's known. But you ever notice that again? Their shtick is where they hate Islamic people. Again, we worship Israel, but no, you hate Jews. those are the cronies you put in. So again, it's a very strange thing. He's just full of shit, And this woman here, I know how her life went. It went up and down in certain ways, and she sees that Biden was the mess that she believed. But if you go back, and I tried to explain to her, and I couldn't because she was getting so pissed off. We agreed to disagree, but I just tried to say, told her everything you see in the Biden administration, the cycle began under Trump. I said Trump's economy was shallow. It was hollow. I mean. It was a scam. And at first, it paid dividends. Then the bottom would fall out from it because you in 2019 you could see that bottom eroding, that foundation eroding. Again, when I said he did the tariffs, I said tariffs are a tricky thing. You got to be very careful with tariffs. So all the farmers had no money. So what's he do? He takes all the tariff money and gives it to the farmers. That's like so stupid. Well, there was a good balance before he took office when it was considered how much people were making and the prices, what things were costing. It was pretty well. Again, you may see certain things in the inflation under Trump is bullshit. That's the first part. When you get people like that in office, everything's bullshit. Now, I don't know about Biden. I really haven't paid attention that much. But, if a God told me to pay attention to it, I would. It's bullshit. I watched him reduce the size of everything under Trump, and the price would go, go up 50 cents for a $5 thing, but but you cut the size in half, or 3/4, whatever. So again, they lied about inflation under Trump. As far as immigrant numbers, bullshit. I still do not see the level of Latinos I saw under Trump. Now, I'm not going to be racist about that. I still don't see them. They used to be everywhere. I believe his people took money. Again, they put that. The thing they learn is deny, deny, deny. Don't let them see you sweat. But what they do is they take it the next step. They project that the other side's doing that. Again, Trump's not a globalist. Of course he's a globalist. And he's such a globalist, he's only about wealthy globalist people. And no, they're not helping us, really. They're buying our nation for their own use. They're going to decide who's in the FBI one day if you let them keep going, and some already done that. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Russia, Ukraine, they've already decided who they didn't want in federal law enforcement. Through their millionaires and billionaires. And I'll tell you, the retired agent that got money directly from some big Russian or whoever it was in Georgia, whatever that was, that's not the first time he's been paid. It's the first time that he was visibly paid. Even keeping his job is payment. They'll come in and harass you, you drop a case, bet you keep your job. There's no United States here. There's a globalist manipulation. Look, I know for a fact that I could have been married. Anytime I interact with a woman, it's always usually wonderful. And it's always wonderful, actually, because it's their women and it's a setup when it's not something. even if it's just friendship or help for the moment. They're all happy. So, remember, my first day in Santa Fe, they brought an agent into the restaurant where I was eating. I went and got an Indian meal. And I said a few words to her, and then she like freaked out on me. And no woman does that, unless she's, Jezebel, Delilah, scumbag. It is really just a little chitty chatty, and we're in a spiritual environment. There's no doubt she was an agent. No doubt. FBI hair and everything. But could have been DHS. So what she was trying to do is say, don't talk to people. So this is what they're doing to disabled people day in and day out. They got no, the minuscule cases that these agencies and agents bring, it's a disgrace. So again, don't let them tell you they're not for Trump. Even if they're Democratic Party, they're for a certain type of government, and that's the Putin type of government. And what is that? That's the KGB government. That's what deep state is, the KGB government. So they'll say, well, I wasn't for Trump. But they're part of the machine. There's two sides to the deep state, and it has to play one side against the other and bring everybody along, or you'll see their crimes one day. So it's kind of a messed up day. Kind of threw everything off, but again, the curses were heavy, and I still got my VIN inspection done, and I hopefully got her out of Atlanta. So again, if you look at influencers, how many things do they have to buy to get the one device that they actually like? They turn it into money because they have followers and all that. So they actually have to spend like a few $1,000s to get some $300 item they like. It's everywhere. But again, if you have enough money, you can cover it. So again, they physically blocked my money. They physically blocked my life. When God was trying to give me, they would physically block it. Same thing happened to Jesus. Same thing happened to Paul. So that's what they do. They do psychology, and it's called spycraft and that's witchcraft also. All that spycraft includes witchcraft. So those people are witches, and they're causing people to fall into crime and poor life, poor health. And when they can't do it with that, they do it physically. There's no doubt that in the last 30 years, there's probably about at least 10,000 felonies against my life, liberty, and happiness. I know it isn't because they're in law enforcement allowed to do it, because many of them aren't law enforcement. And the ones that weren't in law enforcement, well, the ones in law enforcement also probably too, but ones that weren't in law enforcement, drug users, alcoholics, sex traffickers, drug distributors, orgy types. So again, those that were part of it will go to hell. I don't care what you thought you were doing. I mean, there's a certain level of innocence that Jesus spoke about. And you definitely don't have it. So again, how are you all going to get saved? Are you spiritually blind? Well, if you're moving with that crew, I don't think you're that spiritually blind. God said, that's why I leave you somewhere for a few years to see where these people actually are. Versus, I can't make that judgment when I'm in and out real quick, and that's probably why I'm still here. Now, God wants me to explain something to you. being given over to a reprobate mind. Did God give somebody over to a reprobate mind, or did the planet take over that person's mind and they're the reprobate mind? That's really what's happening now. So again, when Paul describes the end times, he describes some very drastic changes. And what that changes is the spycraft and the witchcraft. You can call it gaslighting, you can call it crazy making, you can call it, God's power. But again, but that's how the progression of forgiveness works also. So whatever they're reading in the Bible, they're projecting it. If a witch is in a church, a witch will make a spell to cause others to fall into what the witch believes is the worst thing they could be. So that's why we're having an increase in LGBTQ people. Also, you'll go, well, didn't you say something else about that, Larry? Right, it's cumulative. Didn't I say that when I started this? Now, are there evil LGBTQ people? Yeah, it's getting bigger. You did a good job in cursing them. So again, are they really evil? Again, they call it politics, but it's, again, spycraft and witchcraft. So again, my friend's mind was blinded. My mind was blinded. First, I got a ticket on Friday and I bet you by Friday, I would have figured it out that she needed to go to that other bus station or go to the bus guy. Because I had it on, a tip of my mind. I just couldn't get it to her. To go to the bus guy and ask where that was going to. Again, it's blinding the mind. So what I'm trying to describe to you is their effect on people is so sublime that God can't judge people. I've told her a million times. She's like, well, I got to go do some charity. I got to tithe. I'm like, will you stop it? All you need to do is get well and be well. I mean, you can say that about me, but I can at least maintain my residence. And, Senator made sure I could have something and maintain my residence. They try to take my retirement so many times. They're just sickos, man. Got nothing better to do than be sickos. Now, I wanted to go back through something because I think there's enough law enforcement officers that'll probably hear this. So I spoke years ago. There was a case brought by, I think, Homeland Security or DHS or whatever it was, or same thing. But involved NYPD, I think. Now, maybe Internal Affairs and NYPD was part of it. Well, what it involved was law enforcement officers working with a union and getting fabricated retirements. And I told them, I think, I understand where this is all at in your minds and how it's going. But in law enforcement, it's not okay to have a psychological issue. And those people, I think the union was wrong for taking advantage of the officers, but I believe the officers had a psychological out. They should not have been charged. Well, because if you have PTSD and you can't get to work, what are you going to do? Back then, and even today, some officers, they'll eat their gun before they go say that they're crazy, And again, a lot of it is because people you work with are devils, demons, antichrist, witches, and sorcerers, and they're moving spycraft. A lot of officers don't know what's happening to them. So what happened is they got charged, but they were disabled psychologically. And the union took advantage of that because they just couldn't get back to work. They knew they couldn't go to work. So they went and they fibbed about what was wrong with them, making it something physical. Look, I didn't see that girl. She's still here. Maybe I did. I don't know. This one license plate's familiar to me, and I just saw her. I spoke about her. I healed her. Maybe she just stays here on the weekend. Who knows? So again, that's another thing to be aware of. And again, PTSD is not going to affect somebody until the environment is failed. A healing environment, officers will stay healed. And they plot and plan physical disability, psychological disability. They're all sick. They get off on it. That's the crazy part. That's really nice tonight. It's actually beautiful. I guess the officers on patrol appreciate it. But what they got to do is not be corrupt. They got to learn that corruption isn't necessarily something you can put your finger on. But you should know that it exists, and exists in a way that you can hide it your entire life. Corruption begins in a state of mind and your heart. Now, we're all failed and fallen. Again, the church looks at LGBTQ people and doesn't give them the benefit that they give themselves. Again, the church built the Bible into what they could use based upon selfishness. Now, your church may not be selfish, it just might be stupid. No, not confused, stupid. That's the only way you can get that way, being stupid. It's very interesting to read Paul and understand what Paul actually meant. Maybe one day you'll get there. And it's also in the other scriptures. But what you have to do is undo the voices and the inferences that are in your mind that have been put there through time and space. We all sin. Why don't you hate yourself? Oh, you don't hate them, you're helping them. That's the old church thing, they help people by hating them. I don't think the Bible says that. I honestly don't. Again, I had a preacher, and I really enjoyed being in that church. When I had to look back, I realized I was operated in that church for the people that were trying to push me out of law enforcement because I was too honest for them. But he would always say, and I never caught what it actually meant. Like, I'm mesmerized by his preaching, that kind of thing, having a good time in church, having people over for lunch on Sundays. But he said, if it offends them, if offending them brings them closer to God, then so be it. I don't think the Bible supports that. See, he saw the issue, and he may have learned it at some university, Baptist University. It was the party line. The Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says if it offends them, stay away from it. So then you go, well, how the hell? Because he's how do I rebuke people? It's going to offend them. Well, I guess if it draws them closer to God, then so be it, right? No. See, that's part of the learning curve in the Bible and the discovery of who you are. I'll tell you right now, though, if you're in a certain communities and you say gay people are okay, they'll try to make you gay. So again, I'd be scared too. You see? But then they tell you, well, you're having those gay thoughts because of the gay people. No, it's you. Okay, so let me go back to this other part because people are starting to get lost. Okay, we have Adam and Eve. What happened there? What happened? Why did they come out of the garden? Because they fell, right? So what makes you think we're not falling? We're not in a garden, are we? So we're not in that place where Adam and Steve exist. Adam and Eve. And who knows? It could have been Adam and Steve. I guess it couldn't be. Maybe this was a snake dude. Do you like Adam? Bestiality? I don't know. Maybe more than that fruit. It'd have been fruity. Again, I'm only joking and being funny there. But the reality is, I'm not joking about being fallen. So they say, well, you know, in the garden, well, where do you think, are we in the garden? We're not in the garden. In fact, if you want to go back to the garden, then let them walk down the street naked. Because that's the way it was in the garden. So you see see what they did to your mind? They told you that, you know, you can't have gay people. Hear me out, because you can't have gay people, you can't have people that cause strife, you can't have people that offend people, so be it. It's all the same abomination. So what was the Bible designed to do? To break us down and realize what I'm saying. So if you want to go back to the garden and say it was Adam and Eve, then Adam and Eve should be walking around naked, right? So everybody walking around naked because we're going back to the garden. Now, am I telling people to be gay? No. Am I telling people not to be gay? No. Are you learning, church? Well, what I'm doing, church, is stopping you. Like I said earlier, stopping you from just destructing yourself. Because what you're doing is you're fighting the Bible. Now, no matter what Jesus said, and people in the Bible, you watch them all the time. Well, these persons like were most rotten, and then they meet one of them. They go, "Oh, blessed be you." Why is that? Ezekiel 34. They saw them as victims. You know, Jesus was causing strife all day long, but his heart was to do what? Seek and save that which was lost. And it drove him into it. He doesn't get it out. Quit stopping. Well, cops can commit crime all day long because they're cops. Jesus can sin all day long because he's Jesus. No, but his heart was clean because he desired everyone to be saved. You all don't desire that. That's some of the things that come after me, because I would cause them to be saved. Again, Satan doesn't want gay people to accept the church. He wants them to think it's the piece of turd that it is, or that it is manifesting as, but it's not really the church. Again, Jesus is here going, "Hey, bud, remember the other part." That's the synagogue of Satan. Well, but look at our church. Look at it. I mean, it's a mansion. Yeah, but God don't own mansions here. So what is it? Well, because then you have to have what? Actually, Jesus was right. Sell everything and just, maintain a small bank account. But today you do need money. Right? They don't pay the workmen the wages. Because the deep state, no, that person don't get paid over there. They get nothing. That's what they're doing, right? So the system is upside down. So the church itself is confused in how it's working. So what does that do to Christianity? I would say dumbs it down. But in that stupidity, they've become aggressive and regressive. Again, we don't want to be progressive. Why? Well, AOC is progressive. No, progressive is a simple term in the dictionary. We need to be progressive. Why? Because that's what Jesus spoke about. That's what Paul spoke about. So when we look at progressive, we realize that it requires us to trying to figure out if the officer's looking for somebody. It's funny in here. I know he's going back out, or she's going back out. It's funny in here sometimes. So when we speak about progressive, we speak about what? We speak about greater work shall you do. My microphone's screwed up for some reason. You didn't mess with it, all of you. I hope you don't. Because some of my processing is online. They do mess with it. I know they mess with the volume levels. And laugh at me. Go harm somebody because we're laughing at you. That's really the way it works, and it is a trigger for that. It's not only psychological, it's metaphysical, demonic. Paul also said, now it's like looking through a glass darkly. Then I will, face to face, I will know. So again, there's always this progression. And the Bible's all about progression. So when we have preachers going back to Deuteronomy going, well, I think it's just that we kill people who are gay. I mean, God wanted them dead, right? What's the reality? Just erase all of Jesus' work and you can go back to that. But then again, don't expect to go to heaven. Because you kill gay people or recommended they're killed. My equipment's falling apart. Quit cursing me because the cop drove through. So again, I'm not telling you to be gay. I'm not telling you for your church to be gay. I'm not telling you anything other than what the Bible more accurately says. Again, I'm not perfect. My wiring's all tangled. How the hell did this happen? Oh, devils. But again, get off them. Let them live a life. But you see, you go, well, what about this crazy pride stuff, more? And you're even against them young kids getting transgendered, with radical procedures, correct? But what you're doing is you're not healing it, and you're not looking for alternative science and therapies that work. I do believe that there are some tests that we could develop. For some reason, this thing is not working right. All right, I'm going to change my voice, maybe. See if this works better. I'm going to try to look here. Where am I? All right, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but something's funky with my system. It sounds a little bit more solid. It's probably me a little more harsh, but at least I don't feel like I'm fading out and fading in, everything else. What's happening is when you're projecting at them with the intention for them to be less, to go down, instead of the thumbs up, the thumbs down, then they're going to take that form that you want. And that's that naked form that you're seeing. Again, I don't believe children should be exposed to any of that. Do I believe children should be allowed to go to a gay cabaret show? Yeah, of course. You know, we have to go back before all the fighting occurred. So we go back, let's say 20, 30 years. And again, some of the cabaret dancers and all of the showmen, the drag queens, they'll talk about the different places that they perform, and they know there's a difference. But what they have to understand, not everybody is adhering to that. And that's where the problem is. But what's happening is on the other side, they're trying to blur the lines and say everybody's like the most heinous abuser of producing a show in front of children that it's inappropriate. I've seen quite a few of those. I don't think we should be doing that. I know it's a crazy world, and I know the kids are looking at porn. I know the kids are having sex. In fact, they use a few of those kids as bait kids around me. So again, you could see some sort of craziness there. And then I got to wonder, are the officers having sex with them? Are the women having sex with them, whether they be missing exploited or someone else? I know for a fact that they don't have a problem in sexualizing somebody and isolating somebody into sex crime. So right then and there, all bets are off. So they could go as far. Again, the veil goes over the eyes. Well, they wouldn't have sex with children. No, that may be the reason that they're doing it. Satan will cover them as long as they take others down. Again, that's a mechanism that Satan uses. And again, we see it in law enforcement. I forgot they were coming out. I got to get my spray. I really want to go north, but now I can't because I just spent $300. I could probably go just through everything in storage and just roll it out of here. There's not much choice north. Des Moines is humid and muggy. Fargo had a heat wave. It was hotter there than it was here. And you don't want to go near those, any of the residual smoke that might be drifting west, Midwest. That's up in the north. Thought about Montana. I don't know. They have too much. They have too much, strife in Montana. And I probably would have. They could manipulate people to attack me, saying I was bringing trans world. Actually, they wanted me to look at porn today, but woman porn. And then I assessed what they wanted me to look at, and I said, "Oh, wait a minute. Okay, there, right? Okay." I was going to see I was trying to figure out what are they going to say about it. And what I did is I looked at a video earlier, a reel, I guess they call it, and it was this guy was paying money for people to show their silliest dance. He was paying for their gas. He said, "I'll pay for your gas if you show me the silliest dance." And the only people that did, of course, were people of color. All the white people were like, "No, thank you. I don't think I went to do this." "Oh, I'm good. Go away." That kind of thing. But the people of color, so there was a Latina woman, a young woman. I don't know if she was under 18, but you could probably write up and say she was 16 and say, well, he got turned on there, and then he went and looked at Latino porn. So even though if I looked at Latino porn and it'd be all adults, they would insinuate that it came because of children. I mean, they really are. They're like insane. I've tested them for years. But it never goes to court because it's not illegal anyway. But they use it to insinuate some sort of psychology that they're trying to implant. That's the worst part. They insinuate some psychology that they're attempting to implant in their victim, and it's criminal psychology. I can hear it as a voice. "Oh, you might be FBI here. He's crazy. He's crazy. Don't listen to him." "Hey, baby, you hear me?" Next thing you know, the FBI psychologist is speaking to the other psychologist in the mind. Let's go to lunch, baby." They both walk out of the office. They go, "Ee." People can project. There's no doubt, especially what happened today and yesterday. And the spell's also horrible. The closer I got to the VIN inspection, the worse it got. I was trying to help her at the same time, so it was like double whammy. They probably willed it up like that. So so what happened is I might have a slow leak. I think it's probably like a slow leak outside the pressurized system because I have no trouble. But I've never seen it like this. But I guess I had more residual water because it's more humid. Maybe it used to dry quicker. But I come out of the car wash and it kept dripping from the back of the fender, and it took me a while because my mind was blinded to remember that's where the engine compartment water drains. So it could actually be coming from anywhere, but I looked with my flood lamp, headlamp thing, and then I remember once I saw it before. And I'm like, well, nothing's malfunctioning. Nothing at all. So it could have actually, at a certain point, had something like that, where it had a coolant issue, and then it got stuck, got hot, and it got stuck to certain parts inside the vehicle. And then when you spray the water, it turns it from solid to liquid. So it was kind of weird, but there was really no issue. And like I said, if it is it's something stupid outside the pressurized system. My vehicle runs real cool. So it can't be anything really. I just kept looking like, is there something I don't know about? Like the transmission has coolant lines instead of oil lines going up to the radiator, that kind of thing. Like it goes back from the radiator to some sort of, a small radiator around the transmission or something. Because it's the tranny fluid that goes to the radiator. Right. And I didn't see anything, and it dried up. As soon as I took an additional ride, it was fine. But yeah, the woman that worked the VIN inspection, very, very personable. She really worked to make people feel comfortable. And maybe she felt the thing. I don't know, she could have been psychic. There was like a weird thing there. It was interesting. The only thing, like I said, that was weird is it was all women, and that gets kind of sexist. Now, they may prefer it. It may work better that way. So I don't know, but it just strikes me as, kind of odd. But again, if your best people for that are women, then that's who you use. And they may have put in for it. Maybe they like it, dealing with the public like that. But I don't know if I didn't go down to Olathe, or the other one was in Olathe. That's where I was going to go, and I don't know if there was any men down there. But that's generally, what I've seen in that type of operation, a mix of people. So, and it could be that the guy that works there is not on today or something, or a couple guys, and they work different days and different shifts. I don't know. But as far as appearances, there's something over here. It's like weird. I wonder if it's allergy or something. Or I wonder if they got a direct energy thing across the highway. Hey, get out of here. That's the part that you don't know. Like you go patrolling, and then there's like some private eye with a direct energy that's connected to the person that tells you to go down a certain street, and they hit the guy or gal with a direct energy when you drive by. That exists. They even have private eye. Like I told you, I don't know if they do it anymore, but there's catalogs we had in the Marshal Service. It had nothing to do with the Marshal Service. It was just something we picked up because we had catalogs, law enforcement, but it had a private eye catalog. And they had substances to cause flatulation, laxative substances. Like you're supposed to give this to somebody that you're investigating. I'm like, back then I'm like, oh, that's weird. But then when I woke up, I'm like, oh my God, it's real. You get some downtime, you grab the catalogs, galls, and everything else, and you look through it. They had this one catalog. It had all these substances. I'm like, what would they use that for? Oh my God. After I knew they were drugging me, I'm like, oh my God, those substances. I never thought about it before, but I'm like, again, the reality is I'm supposed to be in the CIA, supposed to have a protected life from childhood, supposed to be a rabbi, go to my cover. All right, I think I'm finished here. What time is it? Yeah, it's enough time. I have to use the facility, so it's probably a good time to go in. Pray for my friend. Hopefully she ends up somewhere. The funny part was, I didn't tell you this one. So I'm looking at the buses and seeing where, this is like a joke from God. She struggled accepting some of the LGBTQ people because she was in a certain church or a couple churches. And so I'm looking to say, okay, so I look at, and there's no like shelters anywhere near any of the bus stops except for this one. And I look it up, and it has this, what was it called? I forget. But it turns out to be is an LGBTQ shelter. And it's like a block away from where the bus would let her off. And I think it works I think it's the one that runs 24 hours a day. But before I found out it was an LGBTQ shelter, I found who was running it. It's a black trans woman who's a minister. I thought, yeah, that's God. That'd be perfect for her, you know. Well, if you want to stay anywhere, it's got to be this place. And they're like, all LGBTQ in there. But it's funny. I was like, this is great. That's God. That's the one thing we were working on her on. Again, I was telling her not to think too hard about it. I said, it's not something you need to be concerned about. And again, let them live their lives and let God judge it. But, you know, it's the churches were telling her how they were taken over. And again, if you say they're taken over, again, I'm not a big law of attraction person, but I understand that a lot of you project your will, whether you know it or not. But you have the intention to project your will. So you kind of know it. Willful ignorance again. So when you say things about them taking over, you're actually causing them to take over. So again, you have to be very careful with those type of things because it causes Munchausen by proxy, where you spiritually cause things to saying that they're happening. Isn't this horrible? That again, if you wouldn't say it, it wouldn't happen. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God. Know what you do. Praise God.